Hi there. Thank you for joining Yo Soy. Today we are filming at CMAC Studios in beautiful downtown Fresno, California. Today we have Mr. Johnny Sharp. Thank you for taking time to come to our studio and interview. I understand you're an instructor at Madera. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I teach physical education in Madera at Purging Elementary School.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, aren't you the director and head coach too?
I am the head coach at Madera South High School. Yes, girls basketball.
Okay, so two different schools that you're working for.
I coach at one and I teach at the other.
Oh, okay, great. So why don't you give us a little bit of your background? We were talking a little bit about your family, and you said you were moved all the way from Alabama. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was really young. My mom and dad moved from Alabama to Los Angeles, and we stayed there until I was about in the 3rd grade, and then we moved to Pomona. And I always say home is where you grew up at, and that's where I grew up at in Pomona.
Right.
And we stayed there until I was about 26 years old.
Oh.
And then I eventually migrated to Fresno.
Okay, but tell us a little bit about your time in Pomona.
Well, Pomona was fantastic. It was awesome. I played basketball. It was one of the things I really enjoyed doing. And, you know, I tell the kids now that I coach, if my parents ever took away basketball, all they had to say is, I'm going to take away basketball. And they had me at their mercy. So I did anything. You know, I made sure the trash was done, my room was clean, because I didn't want anything to interfere with my basketball.
So how did you get involved with basketball? I mean, just one day at school, or?
Well, basketball was something that we all played in the neighborhood, and we had young coaches, guys that would come out and volunteer at the elementary, and so I kind of got involved in the 4th grade.
Oh, okay. So, okay, that's awfully young, the 4th grade. So how did you continue to get involved, stay involved with that? I mean, there are a lot of distractions when you're growing up.
I just think we had good coaches, guys that care. You know, a lot of times you have parents that will volunteer because no one else would do it, but the guys that we had, they were really good people and good mentors to us. And once you know, I always say once you get the bug, and I think I got the bug early, just in really enjoying basketball. So it was just something easy for me to do.
Oh, okay, great. So did you have other brothers and sisters, or just yourself? Or?
Yeah, I have 2 brothers. Well, one has passed and gone on, and 2 sisters. So I'm kind of in the middle.
Oh.
I had an older brother and sister, a younger brother and sister.
Oh, okay.
So I was in the middle.
If you were in Pomona, I mean, what made you decide to come to Fresno? I mean, all your sports buddies were in Pomona. Tell us about that.
Well, like I said, I used to play basketball all over town, and we used to play in a tournament out at Laguna Beach. And we had been playing in that tournament for about 3 or 4 years, and one of the guys there, he was a college coach. And I knew who he was, but we never talked about basketball. And just one day we started talking, and I said, well, you know, I'm going to go back to Chaffee College, and I'm going to finish over there, and I'm going to play my 2nd year, because I had already played 1 year at Chaffee College. And he was just really surprised. He said, you still have eligibility? I said, I sure do. And right there, he offered me a scholarship to come to Fresno.
Really?
Yes.
So did you go to Fresno State, or?
I went to Fresno Pacific.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a graduate of Fresno Pacific.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So did you have a full ride, a full scholarship, or?
Partial. It was financial aid and a partial scholarship, but it was enough to pay the full tuition.
Oh, so what did you study?
Physical education.
Aha, so you became a teacher.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So along the way, did you play basketball there?
Oh, yeah. I played a couple of years there. And come to find out, the basketball wasn't the greatest experience, because I knew once I got there, my total goal was to get my degree, because, you know, I floundered around a little bit and really didn't know what I wanted to do. And finally, when I finally made up my mind was to go to Azusa Pacific. I was going to go to Azusa Pacific after my 2nd year at Chaffee, but then the opportunity to come to Fresno came up. So I took the opportunity, but I knew when I came, I was really coming personally for the degree.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So did you fall in love in Fresno?
No, I actually came with my family.
Oh.
So yeah, I started off earlier, probably earlier than I wanted to. But you know, things happen, and so I had already been married. I married my high school sweetheart. Yeah.
Oh, what's her name?
Tina.
Tina.
Yeah.
And
Tina
how many
Sharp.
children do you have?
We have 2 daughters.
2 daughters.
Yes,
Oh.
Tanisha and Renisha.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you were already packed up, Dad? They were little babies, or
7 and 9.
they were 7 and 9
7
years
and
old
9.
when you
Yeah.
came here to
Uh-huh.
the university. So by then, what was your age about that time?
I was 26.
Oh, okay.
26.
So you graduated from the university around 26,
28.
28, okay. And then from there, you went to?
From there, I went into National to get my credential, and not knowing how expensive it really was, all my friends, they took out loans. But when I looked at the thought of taking out a loan, and it was like $15,000, it was kind of like more than I could really get my mind wrapped around. So I stopped and I started substitute teaching. And then that's when I got into high school basketball myself personally over at Fresno High School.
Really?
Yeah.
When you say you got into high school basketball, you started teaching high school basketball?
Coaching high school basketball.
Oh, okay, but you had just recently graduated.
I just recently graduated.
And you were going to National University, and they didn't have it on computer then?
Well, they had computers, but my studies, I was going in.
Physically?
Yeah, I was going in physically.
Oh, okay, wonderful. So then, so it sounds like a little evolution there that
It is.
occurred. Can you tell us about that, how that all came to be, or?
Yeah, which part? The degree, the graduation,
It sounded
the
like
coaching?
they all came together at one point there, the
Yeah.
graduation and the and coaching at Fresno High.
I actually started out at Edison High. I was an assistant coach with the JV team. I did that for 2 years. And then the coach that I was coaching with, he ended up going to Clovis West, and I ended up getting the opportunity to come over to Fresno High. I actually coached with another guy named Sharp. His name was Jody Sharp, and I'm Johnny Sharp. So our mail would always get, he's like, here's your mail.
Crossed up. That's funny.
Yeah.
So did you win any big basketball tournaments during that time?
We won some games. Yeah, we won some games. We really wasn't that good early. I mean, we lost any and every which way you can lose. We would be up, we would lose. We would be down, we would lose. We would be close, we would lose. And we just actually built the program from there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's part of it, just building it up to
Yeah,
win.
yeah.
So how many wins did you get after you got the team all worked out?
Oh yeah, we were winning pretty much 18 to 20 games a year when we finally got it worked out, and eventually got an opportunity to be the All-Star coach, City County All-Star coach. Yeah.
Wow, here?
Yeah, here in Fresno.
Okay, when they say city all-star coach, what does that encompass?
What that encompasses is after the season's over, they pick a coach that they deem worthy or had a great year that year, and that particular year was my year.
Oh.
So I was the coach, and basically all the teams from the city, it was a process, a nomination process, and from there you picked a team and you played against the county team, which was another coach that got nominated for having a great year also.
Okay, so then you work together?
Yeah.
Is that the idea?
I ended up getting 2 coaches at like my staff and another coach that was at Edison at the time. So I was able to pick the staff that was coaching that game, and she did the same for her staff.
Oh, male, female.
Female, she was female, and of course I was male.
No, but you're coaching all males, all
Oh,
females?
I was coaching females, yeah.
Oh, all females?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So you went from the boys' team to the girls' team, or?
Yeah. At Edison, I was with boys for 2 years, and then I came over to Fresno High. I was the head JV boys coach for 1 year and the assistant varsity boys coach. And then the following year, the girls' position opened up. And one of the guys, his name is Donnie Johnson. A lot of people know him here. He ended up going over to Fresno City College, and he asked me if I would be willing to coach the girls' team. And to be honest, I said I'm not coaching the girls' team. And I just didn't know. And he said, well, why don't you come out to a game? And I came out to a game, and it was Clovis West versus Fresno High, and it was like a playoff game, and it was standing room only in the gym.
Oh, how exciting.
And they turned away like 200 or 300 people outside. And it was like one of the most vigorating games ever. And I said, okay, if girls play like this, I can do it.
Did you win?
Fresno High lost that night.
Oh, no.
Yeah, one of their players got hurt, and so they lost.
So let me ask you, I mean, is there any difference in coaching a girls' team versus a guys' team? I mean, what are the differences?
There's a difference. Girls play below the rim, but although they're starting to play above the rim, now you have girls slam dunking and that type of stuff. Girls basketball is a lot more fundamentally sound from my perspective. Boys are a lot more active, They love the game. Even boys that really can't play, they think they can, and girls kind of know. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I never thought, coaching. I know it's male and female, but I didn't know there was crossover.
Yeah. I coach it the same, though.
You do?
Oh, yeah, I coach it the same. We press and run and gun, and yeah, we play up-tempo basketball.
Okay, so the expectation level's the same, the scoring is the same, the only difference is the rim. So that when I'm taking it, the rim means under.
Boys got the ability to jump higher and play above the rim.
Okay.
And most girls, we're getting there, and so I don't want to put that negative connotation on girls basketball, but a lot of them are just now starting to get to the level where they're jumping and grabbing the rim and slam dunking and that type of stuff. Girls are more purists. They shoot the ball very well.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
They shoot the ball
so
very
they're more
well.
precise, is what you're saying
Yeah.
on that part.
Yeah.
But I, being a woman, I'm just thinking to myself that it probably takes a lot more power physically to jump, make that tall jump. That's why you're having that situation. Huh?
And now girls are a little bit taller now. I think because now they're able to play it, more freely with Title IX. You're able to play it more freely, and then the interest with the WNBA has really brought girls into the arena to play basketball. So now even little girls, now they're emulating the girls they see in pro basketball.
So WNBA is more, did they change the rules, or they're just, how does it differ?
Rules are the same. Rules are the same. They play less games. That's really about it. They play less games.
Oh.
But it's absolutely the same.
Okay, so the audience, that's good to know. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Factoid. So how in the world did you, from there, you went from Fresno High to, how'd you get to Madera?
Okay, that's an interesting story also. As I was coaching Fresno High, I coached at Fresno High for about 9 years, 10 years. And my wife would ask me every year, Johnny, are you looking for a job? I would say, of course I am. But I was substitute teaching and going to school, taking a class here and there. And finally, I really started looking. And really the first job that I applied for, I applied for it on a Tuesday. I interviewed on a Thursday, and I had the job on the Monday. And so I had to leave my Fresno High team, and we were really at the epitome of success at that time. We were ranked like number 5 in the Valley, and
Wow.
had everybody coming back, and we just had a good opportunity to win everything. And I had to leave, and I can remember the first girl I called and told her.
They were sad.
Oh, we both cried.
Yeah.
We both cried. Yeah.
So how long have you been with Madera?
I've been in Madera working for about 12 years. I coached 1 year. I actually went to Rio Vista first, and then I came over to Madera.
So what would you say, let me ask you a question, what would you say to people if they're just getting involved with sports? I mean, whether it's male or female, could you give us one little bit of advice to our audience?
Basic fundamentals. Learn the fundamentals of the game. I think a lot of times people come and they play, and especially with our society today, you could almost buy the part, where you could go and buy new shoes and wristbands and new socks, and you could literally look like an athlete. And but learn the basic fundamentals.
But in your life, I mean, your achievements and what your goals and all of that, what you started with, would you say that the sport has helped you in your personal life?
It absolutely has, because of the discipline in basketball. And I think sometimes even in sports, you can be a little bit more disciplined than actually what a teacher could kind of tell you in the classroom. You know, a coach could really kind of get in you and say, hey, look, this is what I need you to do, and you're messing up and you're going down the wrong path, and they could be a little bit more stern.
That's a good
Yeah.
thing. And I think that's a good thing for all of us to, even as adults, we need
Yeah.
that. I needed discipline all the time. Well, I really appreciate you coming all the way to Fresno
Yeah.
from Madera. Do you
Yeah.
live in the Madera area?
Well, I live in Fresno.
Oh, you live in Fresno.
Yeah, I live in
That's
Fresno.
great.
I commute.
And we appreciate your service.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you. And thank you for visiting Yo Soy.
Yeah, amen.
We'll bring you back again.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.